For decades, we have helped creatives inform,
delight, and entertain.
Connecting viewers all around the world to events,
to the news, to each other. Our purpose has never been clearer
and more meaningful than it is today.
We've earned the trust of leaders and influencers in media and entertainment.
They turn to us for their most critical needs.
They turn to us because we're there to help them navigate this evolving mediascape.
They turn to us because even when we're apart,
our team remains deeply connected. Day in, day out, rain or shine, we are here.
Working tirelessly to rally the world around the latest news and greatest stories.
Grass Valley is the glue that holds it all together. Standing tall in crisis
and in celebration. We create connections.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for GV Live Presents Engage 2020. I'm Nikki Sun, and I'm so excited to be here in the Sunshine State as your host for this exciting program. During our show today, you'll see interviews, discussions, and customer testimonials that shine a light on some of the groundbreaking things that have been going on with Grass Valley during this very unique time in our history. Our show is being produced live from South Florida with some portions pre-recorded using Grass Valley's revolutionary cloud-based production platform, GV Amp. And we'll be connecting you with Grass Valley folks from around the globe and bring you insights from some of our partners and customers. Before we begin, though, some logistics. First, you do have the opportunity to interact with us during today's show. If you have a question, simply enter it in the comment section on the right side of your screen, and we'll do our best to have one of our experts reply to you during the program. And throughout the show, you'll have the opportunity to respond to some simple surveys in the space below the video player. Also, remember that any live streaming is susceptible to bandwidth constraints. So if you experience any video issues, simply refresh your browser and you should get back up and running. And remember, if you miss anything, a full recording of today's program will be available on demand later today. Now, to kick things off for us, I'm happy to have with me in studio Grass Valley CEO and President Tim Shoulders. Tim, this has certainly been a challenging year for Grass Valley and the entire media tech community. How's it feel to be back on air, so to speak?
Good morning, Nikki. These are certainly unusual and transformative times, but it's great to be here with you, and it's even better to be speaking to so many of our customers and partners from around the world. The global pandemic has kept us from seeing one another, for the most part, but we're starting to see glimmers of hope that a return to normalcy may not be too far off. But the most encouraging thing, and what I'm most excited to share today, are the stories about moving forward, about dealing with adversity, and rallying around each other to keep people informed and entertained. That's what this industry is really all about. And I'm certainly more proud than ever to be among those leading the charge.
You mentioned the pandemic, which of course is still top of mind for everyone. What are your takeaways from dealing with this crisis?
Well, first, I'm very proud that we had business continuity plans in place that allowed us to maintain our operations and continue to meet our customers' service and support needs during the pandemic. The realities that COVID-19 has brought to bear around things like social distancing and being unable to physically work from a facility have accelerated adoption of workflows that were probably coming anyway, especially use of the cloud and remote production. I like to say COVID has slain all the sacred cows that were preventing rapid adoption of new technology, things like security, reliability, and ease of use. And of course, during all of this, Black Dragon completed its acquisition of Grass Valley. Certainly not easy to do during a pandemic and recession, but it really shows their commitment to this media market technology we serve. And I'll tell you this, that team knows and loves this industry and brings a wealth of knowledge to the table. And it's very evident that they are committed to building on the long-term success of Grass Valley to drive change in the business as we head into the cloud-based future.
I'd like to go deeper into your comment about challenges. Tell us about some of the things you've seen from GV customers to overcome the challenges the crisis has caused.
Well, one thing's for sure. Our customers are the most creative on the planet. And granted, no one would have wished these circumstances on anyone, but time and time again, we saw evidence that necessity really is the mother of invention.
Yeah, and I think we've all seen that. What specific advances have been embraced out of necessity, and where does it all lead?
Well, there's no question that the demand for IP workflows and for cloud and virtualized solutions will continue to grow. We've been focused on these areas for quite a while, and I think the most visible example of that is how we're connecting our traditional hardware and software solutions into the cloud with GVAMP. We have really answered the call of customers like Activision Blizzard when they needed to reinvent their workflows to be all remote for the resumption of Overwatch League in the middle of COVID. And Datun, who you'll hear from later in the program. Our cloud capabilities are expanding every day, driven by our own innovative engineers trying to keep pace with the creativity of our customers. You'll hear more today about the GV Media Universe vision that we feel sets us apart and addresses the problems our customers deal with every day of getting more content to more platforms more efficiently.
Well, thanks so much, Tim. Well, it's been quite a year so far. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for you to learn more. Welcome to Engage 2020. Okay, so here we go. There are loads of stories for us to share with you today, and we thought the best way to get started was to hear from one of our customers. As you heard from Tim, staying on air with staffs forced to quarantine and travel severely limited has been our industry's main dilemma. Let's hear from DB Broadcast, a system integrator who has a lot of experience using Grass Valley solutions to overcome the challenge of remote operations.
Hi, I'm Laura Kirkland, the Strategic Accounts Director at Grass Valley. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with Mike Bryan, Head of Solutions at DB Broadcast, and Dave Bird, Managing Director at DB Broadcast. Dave, could we start with you? Can you tell us a bit about DB Broadcast?
Yeah, I started DB Broadcast over 30 years ago. We're based just outside the University City of Cambridge in the UK. We've grown the company organically through self-investment and training of graduates into the business. And during the last year, we employed over 200 people. Recently, we've been working in Europe, but historically we've completed numerous projects worldwide. And over the last 5 years, completed IP-based media headquarter projects for Google, Bloomberg and BBC Cardiff. And we're currently working together with Grass Valley on the groundbreaking ETT Discovery project at over 20 sites around Europe.
So Mike, on September the 28th, the first live news broadcast went live at BBC Cymru and their new headquarters in Cardiff. DB Broadcast played an important role in putting together this broadcasting centre. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
The facility is built around a SMPTE 2110 IP core, utilising GV adaptation, Cisco network infrastructure, GV convergent with some BNCS layered over the top. The design started as HD, but by the time we came to deliver the final solution, there were pockets of UHD that were needed, and actually the underlying infrastructure allowed us to both facilitate that and made it cost effective. In the facility, there were many challenges, and two that probably stand out are control and audio, both heavily influenced by, at the time, what were sort of emerging and new standards. Central Square gives the BBC a fantastic platform going forward, and we were massively proud to be part of it, along with the other suppliers we worked with.
Dave, DB Broadcast has tons of experience in putting together distributed production systems, and that includes, among other things, Grass Valley's switches and replay. Can you tell us what the key factors are our customers should consider when putting together such a system?
Obviously, with the help of the standards, the 2110, MMOS, with faster and more powerful COTS and network hardware, the vision of a format agnostic distribution system for the production system is now a reality. Broadcasters are attracted to the idea of building multiple low-cost production rooms and then working into a more expensive, perhaps back-end system. And I think that with the IP abstraction techniques that are now available and the supporting standards, we're actually able to realise that vision. So consideration of whether to house back-end equipment either locally on-prem or in a cloud database type arrangement is another consideration.
And Dave, you again, please. You work with major broadcasters and studios, not only within the UK, but also globally. What are you hearing right now from your customers?
I guess what has changed is leveraging IP abstraction techniques to enable more remote production to combat COVID. And I see clients wishing to push towards a more IP-centric type design approach, obviously with due consideration for security. I think trust and independence, as I've mentioned earlier, also currently play a very big part in the decision-making during procurement.
So Mike, what challenges do you see ahead for broadcasters to realise their goals?
Taking the technical first, the current standards need to be iterated further to try to remove the ambiguity, thus helping reduce the compatibility issues which we see arise, particularly around audio. Also, configuration management tools are required to help us provide a better and more robust method of maintaining data quality and allow it to be manipulated safely during the deployment of projects. Equally, products need to be better at supporting effectively zero downtime reconfiguration. I think on the business side, we need to always be mindful that people are really important, and actually the training and reskilling of those individuals is key to the success of any projects.
And Dave, you've just completed new headquarters Aurora House that has a large capability for remote hosting and monitoring of IP-based equipment. Can you tell us what's driving that concept?
We're very proud of our new building. The project's experiences over the last few years have really driven the development of the facility. Firstly, the ability to run proof of concept systems during the early phases of projects. We also recognise the need for regression testing on these systems as the system develops. And this is helping obviously DB and clients alike to navigate the transition to IP-based infrastructure. You know, it's no longer a case of updating the configuration on a single piece of equipment. A change on one element of the system now requires configuration on multiple systems and pieces of equipment. So this added complexity needs testing before deploying on a live system.
Well, Dave and Mike, thanks loads for your time today.
Thank you, Laura.
Yeah, cheers, Laura.
The Kahuna is a format-agnostic production switcher in 4K UHD and HD with built-in cross-conversion and mapping. You'll experience easy management of I/O formats with Format Fusion 3 and Format Fusion 4, support for standards-based IP or single-stream 4K UHD SDI, up to 128 gigabytes of clip storage, an internal 2 terabyte hard drive, third-party support, and a new MSP soft panel user interface with optional keyboard and joystick, ideal for remote production.
Welcome back. You've just seen how one of our customers is innovating to keep content on air. Obviously, with sports attempting to get back on track, pulling out all the stops is the name of the game. But agility and adaptability isn't only needed in sports. Here's a look at how Grass Valley's robust workflow orchestration turns your newsroom into the most efficient, flexible environment you could ever want.
This is a typical newsroom in 2020. It's nearly empty, of course, because most people are either working at home or they're working on story locations. And in this Grass Valley newsroom, they're creating content for social media, their website, and for television, of course. I'm now standing outside the news director's office. It's 10 o'clock in the morning and he's having his first editorial meeting of the day.
Alex, how you going?
Damon, hello mate. Can you start the beach volleyball recording? Remember it's the final today.
Okay, yep, dropped into record now. I might send a copy of that to Lucy as well, so just stand by.
Okay, so I've found that soundbite and I'm going to publish that now to Facebook. I'm going to use the automated workflows and that adds branding as it goes.
Over in Adias, she found a soundbite for her Facebook teaser. Lucy can send the clip to social media automatically or by checking a box like this, after it's been approved.
Camilla Powell is our product manager for this system. So, Cam, can you just tell us a little bit more about what's actually happening?
Sure, thanks Trevor. Yep, that's really our workflow engine at work, and as you said, it's there to automate repetitive tasks, freeing up users to do more valuable things and speeding up time to air. And example use cases can be things like ingesting files from LiveView or publishing to social media, a whole range of use cases.
So the integration between LiveView and GV Stratus is very good. When we send a clip over to Stratus, we not only send the video and the audio, but metadata as well.
It's now time to show you a little bit of how we can use Edius for remote home working. And to help me do that, I've got our show business correspondent, Scott, who's sitting in his apartment in Oregon, and he's completing a story which he'd finished some days ago now.
Yeah, I gotta add the finishing touches now from the camera, and then we'll get it over to you soon.
Scott opens the finish sequence from the server in the studio. He then adds the new shots from his camera card and publishes.
Let's go to Trevor.
Good evening and welcome to the Grass Valley News. But we're going to stop there because you know what happens. The anchor speaks a bit, we play some clips, and the show goes on as normal. But we hope we've given you enough information to get you excited enough to ask us some more questions so we can go into it in even more detail with you later. So for now, thank you very much for your attention.
Well, we're back and the lights are back on, and it's the perfect time to dive even deeper into the world of news production with Grass Valley. I'm here with Alex Lakey and Trevor Francis from GV's production business unit. Welcome, guys. Tell us, what was the motivation for that great video?
Hi, Nikki. Trevor and I were talking recently about everything that's changed in the last year, and we wanted to create something that really reflected on that.
I think you certainly did that. Now tell us about yourselves. Do you both come from a news background?
So we both have a background in media production. Trevor worked in TV news and I worked in radio for years.
I can tell by your voice.
Hi Nikki, it's great to talk to you and to all of our customers at home or wherever they are. So the video you watched a few moments ago is a shortened version of a more extended story we made to introduce some of the workflows that are enabled by our solutions, and especially in the current COVID situation targeted at social distancing and remote workflows. Because of course, although we're all working through these difficulties, news is still very much news. It happens unexpectedly, it happens anywhere, and we have to be able to create great coverage and get it to our audiences quickly, reliably, and accurately.
You mentioned that news is still news, but how have things changed since COVID-19?
So firstly, social media has been replacing linear TV for some time, and I think that's really the case now. I guess the big change this year is that our customers really are no longer in their newsrooms, and you know they have most of their people, all of their people, home working. And that was a really, really big change, very big challenge for our customers to deal with in very, very short period of time. But the reality, as Trevor said, is that news happens everywhere, every day. We have to provide solutions for our customers, their reporters and journalists, to produce the content, write the stories where the news is happening, and then publish it everywhere so that it can be viewed and consumed on every possible device.
Exactly, and what's happening now is really just an acceleration of a process that was already happening, quite honestly. And the industry, the news production industry, is going through the biggest transition, I think, since the move away from videotape back in the late 1990s. But this time it's not being driven by technology as it was then, it's being driven by the social environment that we have to work in, and it's also being driven by the demand of our customers to consume news, as Alex was saying, in lots and lots of different ways. So what we have to enable, what we are enabling, is a globalized production through collaborative teamwork, which is absolutely key.
So broadcasters have clearly been in an extremely challenging situation. What has Grass Valley done to help the people in news during these tough times?
So right back in March, when the national lockdown started in a lot of countries, we decided, first of all, we wanted to be really proactive and support our customers as quickly as possible. We made available around 3,000 temporary licenses free of charge, primarily for our remote editing software, but also for our asset management software. And that was so that we could get our customers through that initial challenge of moving to home working. But in the same time frame, we were also starting to build, something for the future.
That's fantastic, and I'm sure greatly appreciated. So what's next? What should the industry be looking out for in terms of production?
Well, what's coming along is a revolution in production. I'm going to leave it to Alex to talk about some of the bigger details in a few moments. But as a former editor myself, I just wanted to draw attention to EDIUS 10. It was formally launched just a few weeks ago now, but it's not just the next version of EDIUS. It's a complete ground-up rewrite of the platform, but also incorporating some fantastic new features which speed up workflows with things like background rendering, eye-catching content created through motion tracking, for example, to pin graphics on action, and really important for the way that we create content from video shot not only on professional cameras but on cell phones and other kinds of devices. So great tools for really improving the audio, which is really critical. So watch out for the next big event on October 27th to see a lot more detail about EDIUS 10. And in the meantime, I'd love all of you to download it and try it for yourselves.
Yeah, so as Trevor says, we're really excited about what's coming, and we think our customers are going to be really excited too. There's only so much we can say today. After the EDIUS event on the 27th of October, there's going to be another news studio event, which is on the 10th of November. And that's where we're going to announce a really exciting new technology platform for our news production solutions. We're going to preview something really, really exciting for remote and home working, working across multiple sites in news and production workflows. And we're really going to launch a solution that's going to solve all of today's difficult problems. So working wherever you are, anywhere, delivering everywhere on all kinds of platforms, and also being able to produce in the cloud when you want to.
Alex, Trevor, thanks so much for helping us get a more detailed story. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. As we've noted already, remote production has taken the express train into the mainstream. What had been a burgeoning new technology seems to have become a fixture for live production. While the circumstances have been far from ideal, the flexibility afforded by remote workflows simply can't be overstated. Let's take a look at Grass Valley's new LDX100 IP camera, which makes it easier than ever to go remote.
The LDX100 is our new native IP camera platform with 3 times UHD high speed, perfectly answering the needs of live sports production. Direct IP connectivity allows for simple connection and discovery of audio, video, and control, as well as superior PTP timing using open IP standards. You get redundant signals that come straight from the camera body, requiring no base station, and giving you at-a-glance operational status and enhanced ergonomics that deliver high performance in the field.
Grass Valley is known for introducing new camera technology. I'm joined now by Ronnie Van Giel from the Camera Product Unit. First of all, congratulations on shipping the first LDX100 cameras.
Thank you, Nikki. Our customers have responded incredibly well to the LDX100. The images, which we proudly design ourselves, capture stunning images all the way up to triple speed UHD.
The LDX100 boasts something called native IP. Is that different from the direct IP we're used to?
Grass Valley's direct IP remote technology is widely used to connect the camera head to a base station over a standard IP link. It provides the flexibility of IP routing while still interfacing baseband signals from the EXU. This makes it very easy to make the first steps towards the flexibility of IP. With native IP, the LDX100 itself is the flexible IP node. It connects the camera directly to a network without the separate base station. This means more efficient use of bandwidth, faster workflows, and more flexibility with fewer components. And then Alma MMOS makes open standard-based Essence streams immediately accessible to any authorized device. Not just audio and video streams, but also tele-information, audio levels, control and status using industry standard integration. Of course, this all can be easily orchestrated with GV Orbit. And since the LDX100 is backwards compatible to an XU as well, you can transition from baseband to native IP at your own pace and make it really easy to switch between baseband and IP.
A camera control system still is very much linked to a base unit, isn't it?
Well, not anymore. Our unique creative grading control solution makes shading any LDX camera a very intuitive process. It puts the shader in full control under all challenging live conditions. And it's also an IP native, so the shaders can control cameras anywhere in the world from the same location. Native IP and creative grading make distributed collaboration a functional model. Every member of the creative team can gain non-conflicting access to the sources they need wherever they work.
Wow. Pairing LDX100 with creative grading sounds like a very powerful solution, especially now that remote production is so important. Thanks, Ronnie. We'll see you back in a few minutes to go over more in depth on 4K UHD. As you've seen so far in this show, there's an enormous amount of focus on efficiency and flexibility. But in this business, we can never forget that what our audience craves more than anything is great stories. And one way we can help make these stories great is to deliver them with the most beautiful pictures possible. Let's take a look at how Grass Valley is delivering on the promise of a full single-stream 4K UHD workflow.
Grass Valley makes it easy to migrate to 4K UHD by offering the right bandwidth required for uncompressed HDR and 4K UHD processing, delivered over 12G SDI or IP, with an ever-expanding portfolio of single-stream 2160p full raster solutions, capable of producing in both HD and 4K UHD. And the best part is, we do it without reducing capacity or compromising on features, because we're Grass Valley.
When we first started talking, Ronnie, you mentioned that UHD is changing customer operations. We've invited Greg Huddy and Nat Zychek to join us in a discussion about how Grass Valley continues to innovate in 4K UHD. Gentlemen, welcome. Let's dive right into a term that I often hear associated with 4K UHD and HDR, single stream. Matt, what does that mean?
So single stream defines how UHD content is handled on the wire. So 12 gig gives enough bandwidth for a single UHD stream to be handled on a single connection, which differs from the early days where you'd have quad square division or quad 2SI. So everything we're talking about today, whether it's switchers, replay, or camera, can handle either mode, quad or 12 gig single stream in either SDI or IP.
We also hear the term single raster. Greg, is this the same thing?
No, really it's not, Nikki. Really, when you talk about the term full raster, what that really means is that it's describing that the signal is being processed. And on many of the products advertised as single stream connections, the signal is still being split internally so it can be processed as 4 1080p 3 gig signals. When you connect that signal, you typically lose that capacity of the system, and it's really reduced by a half or sometimes 3/4. And all the features are also reduced by that, not only just the I/O count. And in comparison, the new K-Frame XP switcher doesn't have any of those kind of limitations because it's being fully processed internally, full raster 4K 2160p. So no reduction in I/O count, and its capabilities, regardless of what your production is, that's not reduced either. So that means MEs, DVEs, Kiers, you name it, it all basically stays the same no matter what the workflow is. So in other words, there is no compromises.
Awesome. Ronnie, as customers work with these high bandwidth signals, is it better to use SDI or IP?
So as we mentioned earlier, our new LDX100 camera captures full raster UHD. But it's not limited to that single format. We capture in any format with just a simple option update that is quickly done in the field, for instance by using the all-new NFC app. SFP changes are also a field update, so you can capture up to triple speed in uncompressed UHD high dynamic range.
So Matt, you're telling me that Grass Valley production equipment can produce in multiple formats?
Sure thing. Whether it's cameras, switchers, or replay, we handle everything UHD, HD, SDR, HDR, and the replay system can actually do some clever dynamic processing on output. So you can take in any format and then convert it if needed on output. We don't only do this on inputs and outputs, we also do this on our file flow media processing software. So any highlight from the replay library can be delivered in multiple formats. So HD, UHD, or HDR, it doesn't matter. We can satisfy most workflows in that area.
And most of those live productions, they're created in one signal format and then converted into wherever they're going to be delivered. But if you really need conversion internal to the pieces of equipment, you can convert those as well. And since each production basically has its own base format, the most important feature is what are you going to be taking out of it? Or so can you do an HDR one day and do a full 4K UHD and then the next day? And with our equipment, you can do that.
It's so clear that Grass Valley equipment supports different video formats, but if you are planning to do a lot of production work in 4K, is it better to use SDI or IP to transport these signals? And Ronnie, what do you think?
Well, in many instances, Grass Valley products offer both types of connections, so it really comes down to the customer's preference. The key advantage of 12 gig SDI is the ability to use any existing baseband video infrastructure. But of course, many large OB trucks really require a lot of monitoring and operator stations. So much even that it exceeds the capacity of most SDI routers in UHD operation. IP also provides much more flexibility to route signals around the network.
And that's really true what Ronnie says. The nice thing about the XP is that you can configure it in SDI or you can configure it in IP. And there are operations out there, like Ronnie's saying, that are 12 gig SDI. But most users, a lot of users really like that IP flexibility of moving those kind of sources and those kind of formats all over within their environment. And then the other thing is in the distribution of those kind of signals, when you're doing remote production, it adds a lot more flexibility.
Yeah, for remote production and distributed production, replay is a key problem to solve because replay operators usually outnumber the rest of the people involved in live productions. So LiveTouch offers several solutions there. We can use the LiveTouch panel remotely over a wide area network to take it away from the physical video server and provide flexibility in remote production workflows there. And we also have a centralized media network on LiveTouch, so you can instantly share media between servers, and operators can collaborate very quickly and easily in these distributed production scenarios.
It's impressive to see how Grass Valley is making it easy to produce in the highest quality content across its live production portfolio. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks.
It's certainly exciting news to see that these new innovations are now making their way into customers' facilities. Perhaps even more exciting is the way these live production components are fully connectable to an IP network. Grass Valley's new Universal Network Control and Configuration Platform, GV Orbit, makes it all happen. Here's Sam Craig to take you through a demonstration of the solution that truly puts IP to work for you.
Hello, I'm Sam Craig, Pre-Sales Manager for Grass Valley Networking. GV Orbit is Grass Valley's unified configuration, control, and monitoring system, simply tailored for pure IP networks, hybrid IP plus SDI environments, or indeed traditional SDI systems. We've taken the best of all worlds and unified this on a single platform to allow ease of usage in administration and day-to-day operations. So unifying all of these applications is not just about being neat. It's about consolidated data sharing, speed, and most of all, accessibility. GV Orbit is fully integrated, giving the same look and feel across the entire board. And most importantly, has been designed from the ground up, specifically for open standard-based IP networks and NMOS compliant devices. So when a compliant device is connected to the network, it immediately sends identifying information to GV Orbit. GV Orbit then registers said device, and it's simply available for deployment. That means easy integration with third-party devices, as well as our own entire IP products portfolio. And that's vital for future-proofing investment. Everything you'll see is dynamic or on the fly, meaning there's no resetting of controllers or file uploads when making changes, no waiting for controllers to come back and hoping that all works. This is what we call dynamic orchestration. Automatic pathfinding makes IP routing fast and efficient. GVOrbit knows about all of the available resources on a network and is fast enough to calculate routes in real time. This unique capability allows GVOrbit to dynamically insert processing elements into flows simply as they're needed. Dynamic device management leverages the connectionless freedom of IP to dynamically redefine the behavior and configuration of IP edge devices. Modern broadcast infrastructure is based on COTS and general purpose platforms, simply running software-definable applications. So an example of this modern broadcast infrastructure is the XIP3901 Agile Processing Platform. The XIP3901 can be reconfigured to run different applications based on ever-changing needs. Once the new application has been loaded, GVOrbit recognizes this change and makes the new application ready for use by operators. Another example of GVOrbit's dynamic device management is the newly enhanced Multi-Viewer Cluster Manager. The MV Cluster Manager is a fully integrated feature for seamless configuration of your entire multi-viewer wall, or multiple walls in one go. All multi-viewer mosaic layout designs and source management of all of your displays are under a single umbrella, simplifying pre-show setup and accelerating repurposing for different production scenarios. So think shows 1, 2, 3, all in one unified interface. So the MV Cluster Manager is highly versatile. This allows you to mix multiple displays of any size with 4K UHD or HD resolutions, portrait or landscape orientation, that simply give you the flexibility to optimize the available space and enables faster setup times. So many organizations worldwide are now centralizing their IP operations on GVOrbit's powerful capabilities.
Welcome back to the studio. So far, we spent a lot of time talking about production and different ways to put stories together. But one of the most buzzworthy topics around our industry over the past couple years is definitely the cloud. How do we get there? And what does a media workflow look like once SaaS solutions running in the cloud are fully accepted and deployed everywhere? Well, Tim, I think you have an answer to that one, huh?
Yeah, we sure do. We've been discussing the challenges our customers are facing for the last few years now. There's an explosion of content options for consumers, and media companies are in a difficult position. They have to deliver more content to more platforms for not much additional revenue, and their costs have gone up. But the return on that investment, or the yield per asset, has gone down as everyone fights over a fixed number of viewers. Not long ago, we introduced the GV Media Universe, which is a collection of cloud-based tools and services that will really help our customers jump into the future. At its core is GV AMP, the Agile Media Processing Platform, and it's fully cloud-native using a SaaS business model that leverages the power of elastic compute to provide an enormous flexibility and agility for all different types of broadcast-centric applications. Now let's take a look at the latest one of those applications, GV AMP Playout.
The proliferation of channels and platforms, together with competition from social media, makes differentiating your brand more challenging than ever. To be successful, commercial opportunities need to be maximized, and Playout needs to provide flexible support in terms of reach and deploying services in new markets. And all of this needs to be achieved while maintaining quality, reliability, and minimizing infrastructure and operational overhead. Introducing GV AMP Playout, based on Grass Valley's groundbreaking Agile Media Processing Platform. AMP Playout is the first playout solution built on elastic compute technology, empowering users with unprecedented flexibility to spin up or spin down channels as and when needed. only paying for the services they use. Fully elastic playout provides the ultimate agility to create new TV channels and playout streams in a matter of minutes without building any specific infrastructure and with a configuration that suits your exact needs. This cloud-first, microservices-based architecture offers limitless scalability from 1 to hundreds of channels. And unlike traditional solutions that are virtualized as a lift and shift in the cloud, GV AMP Playout was built for the cloud from the ground up, making it scalable without compromise. Perfect for live or file-based operations, AMP Playout offers SD, HD, and UHD compressed and uncompressed IP outputs with redundant streams and multiple audio track support. Integration with IP-based routing control systems using NMOS, whether Grass Valley's GV Orbit or a third-party system, further demonstrate Grass Valley's open approach for maximum customer flexibility. Seamless integration with AMP Master Control allows hands-on interaction when dealing with live events such as sports. There's also HTML5 graphic support for channel branding and identity. A variety of web-based operational user interfaces make controlling AMP Playout slick and easy to do from a browser anywhere. In addition, customers can leverage the wider AMP ecosystem to address peripheral needs, such as temporary studio for commentators or post-game shows. Leveraging cloud technologies means that certain redundancy topologies that were previously tied to expensive, inflexible hardware solutions are now possible, allowing AMP Playout to be deployed in different configurations to provide unparalleled levels of self-healing redundancy. Grass Valley has an outstanding heritage in playout automation, with over 5,000 channels on air and an enviable 5 nines reliability performance. GV AMP Playout makes a revolutionary leap forward in how we can help our customers face the challenges of today with the security of knowing that future requirements can be met in the most cost-efficient way. Find out more by visiting grassvalley.com today.
I'm joined now by Neil Maycock, who is Grass Valley's CMO and the General Manager for Playout. Hi, Neil. So we've just learned a little bit about the latest GV AMP application, AMP Playout. Could you tell us a little bit more?
Sure, happy to. So the great thing about AMP Playout is that it was designed from the ground up to be an AMP application. And what that means is that we have all the amazing flexibility of AMP in this Playout solution. So that means we can scale to massive numbers of channels, or we can create channels in seconds. Whatever the aspect of the application, it really breaks down the barriers and limitations of traditional solutions.
So clearly the cloud really makes Playout ultra flexible and agile, but what about security and reliability?
Well, that's the other great thing about a cloud-native architecture. It provides whole new levels of resilience. So whether that's the ability to fail over at a microservice level, or the ability to deploy globally on a diverse architecture, all of that is inherent in the AMP Playout solution. But of course, the other critical aspect of business continuity is security, and that's designed into every aspect of AMP and AMP Playout. And we extensively test the systems, including third-party testing, to ensure that our customers have complete security in this solution.
Thank you for all of that. A few minutes ago, Tim mentioned the GV Media Universe and the connected ecosystem it enables. Could you tell us how AMP Playout customers can leverage that?
Of course. I mean, the vision of GV Media Universe is about creating solutions from applications that are all integrated onto a common platform. And Playout is a great example of that. So when we think about a Playout channel, it's far more than the Playout application itself. There's all types of monitoring, signal routing that we need to do, and that's all provided by the AMP platform. And it's provided in a way that we can scale to any customer requirement.
Thanks for all that great info, Neil. Now let's take a look at a conversation that Neil recently had with the first customer on air with GV AMP Playout, Gordon Castle from Eurosport.
Hi, Gordon. Thanks so much for taking time to talk to us today.
Absolutely. Hi.
Great. So you're overseeing a really major project with Eurosport called the Technology Transformation Project. Perhaps we could start with you telling us a little bit about the project?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to share. So yeah, it is actually the largest technology project we have inside Discovery right now. And basically, you can think of what we're doing as rebuilding the back end of all of the Eurosport production platform. And we're doing it in a private cloud approach. And so there were kind of three big principles that we're really focused on. And that was to enable the evolution of production and really enabling remote production, giving common access to all content for all parts of our business, both the linear and the digital, and also saving the company some money, so actually lowering operating costs.
Of course, a big part of what Grass Valley is contributing towards the project is AMP Playout. So could you tell us a little bit about how you're using that and how it's helping the project?
Playout for us is very dynamic. So inside of this technology platform that we call ETT, the platform will support up to about 250 channels initially of Playout in each of the hubs. But we can use those really dynamically. And so we deployed them as a private cloud approach, but it was important for us to be able to step into a public cloud as well. So we definitely wanted to pick a product that would allow us to scale up and down. And this is important for the digital products, for example, because we do event streams for that. So when we're streaming things like the French Open that's going on right now, we're streaming all of our linear channels. We're also streaming event streams, so individual courts and additional content.
That's a use case we're seeing more and more of, this moving from a world where our playout channels were typically 24/7 nailed up permanent services to this sort of dynamic nature, and this really sounds like it's on the forefront of that principle in terms of sort of the business dynamic that you're trying to fulfill.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a key goal for us was to have the flexibility and scalability. You know, we came from a world where every time somebody came up with a clever idea, it took people to design a solution, to figure out how to make it happen, to spend some money, build something, to a world where, you know, the plan is as we roll out all of ETT, we're still in the evolution stage of the project, that we can just be much more dynamic, take a good idea and immediately run with it.
Yeah. And I think the other interesting thing, you touched on the fact that you have multiple data centers. So, of course, the resilience model you must now enjoy by having this distributed back end for the playout product is also powerful, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, in our configuration, we are running the playout systems themselves on virtual machines in data centers, and they're data centers. They're you know, not your traditional room. In fact, one is in our facility and one is not one of our facilities. It's a third-party facility. And then we're orchestrating the load in Amazon. And what that allows us to do is to be dynamic. So we can have 1+1 one day, 1+0, or 1+ in another location on another day. We can be much more dynamic in terms of how we deal with resiliency and how we react. So when we lose, if we lose something, then we can immediately react by spinning up another machine and transferring the load.
And when you made the selection of going with AMP Playout, there was a really extensive development roadmap we were jointly signing up to. So I was wondering if you could just tell us a little bit about how it's been working with Grass Valley on such a major software development project.
Yeah, I think, you know, this is a really interesting testament to fully embracing a partnership-based approach and an agile working relationship. So one of the things that we did that was somewhat different in this project to the ones I've done in the past, we didn't do the same sort of RFP process where you spend a long time writing out every requirement. What we did was partner identification. So we identified where we were headed, what the key goals were, and of course the size and scope, overall scope of what we had to build, and some key functionality. But we didn't get into all the details because, in our experience, at least my experience in the past, that you spend a lot of time writing something down and then arguing over it, and at the end of the day, maybe you didn't actually come up with all the most clever ideas. Maybe you didn't fully leverage the product. Maybe you didn't take advantage of the evolution of the marketplace, and you took a year.
So, really appreciate your time, Gordon. That's been fascinating insight, and look forward to rolling out all of those channels with you.
So do we. Thanks for the time.
That's great.
GVAMP is the core enabling technology of the GV Media universe, Grass Valley's vision for the cloud-based and software-driven future of media. AMP's microservices architecture and foundational services drive innovation through easily deployable solutions that spin up or down only when you need them. GV Media Universe is designed around a comprehensive SaaS ecosystem of truly elastic, cloud-based tools and services that allow you to deploy any media workflow when and where you need it, drastically reducing infrastructure costs while allowing massive scaling and pay-as-you-go financial models. This means business needs are no longer constrained by inflexible and costly infrastructure. Built from the ground up to help you get more out of your media assets, generating more revenue streams and reorganizing media creation and distribution workflows for efficiency. GV Media Universe will revolutionize the way you think about making media.
Welcome back, everyone. As we move forward with the development of GV Media Universe, Grass Valley is going to help media companies reduce the cost of producing content and more easily experiment with new business models. But that doesn't mean workflow complexity is a thing of the past. One way that the Media Universe helps is by enabling the smooth integration of third-party best-of-breed technologies through our open architecture. As the GV Media Universe grows, more and more technology partners will be added to the ecosystem. Here's Grass Valley's Vice President of Advanced Technology, Mike Cronk, in a conversation with Andrew Heimbold, CEO of our partner Singular Live.
Hello, my name is Mike Cronk, Vice President of Advanced Technology with Grass Valley, and we're thrilled today to have with us Andrew Heimbold, CEO of Singular Live. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate you guys, including me. It's great to be a part of this.
Absolutely. Can you tell our audience a little bit about Singular Live?
Sure. After 20 years of working in broadcast technology, it became apparent that the tools we were using wouldn't meet the needs of modern content creators. So instead of migrating our traditional technology to the cloud, we looked at starting from the ground up to build something completely new, something completely different, with key components that would meet the needs of modern content creators: scalability, cost, ease of setup. And that's why we built Singular.
That's fantastic, Andrew. As you know, Grass Valley has a major initiative to bring production technologies that we work on to the cloud as well. And so as you see production technologies, both from Grass Valley and Singular Live, all in the cloud, what does that mean? How do you see graphics adapting to this new world?
That's a great question. A lot of our clients are in the middle of this transition, going from traditional workflow to more modern cloud-based solutions. And what you have to realize is that there is a lot of good knowledge that's been gained over the past 20, 30 years of live broadcast production. So you want to keep that in mind. You don't want to completely change the experience. You want to make sure that the workflow methodologies are familiar to people in the traditional sense as they move into the cloud. Yet you want to leverage the benefits of a cloud-based solution, which is scalability and abstraction layers that allow people the flexibility of, say, working remote, and also doing multiple outputs, multiple features and capabilities for the broadcasts.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Tell us a little bit about how you've integrated with Grass Valley's AMP ecosystem.
Well, both Grass Valley with AMP and Singular are both based on similar fundamental cloud-based architectures. So it wasn't very hard, quite honestly, using the cloud technology. A lot of the cloud SaaS products already have APIs built in and are meant to work together. So in our case, Singular outputs are just HTML web pages, and Grass Valley's AMP could accommodate the URL that went in there with simply copying and pasting the output URL into AMP. You could have a graphics overlay and still leverage the benefits of Grass Valley's tools as well as Singular's remote control of the overlays.
I agree, Andrew. It was a very easy integration because of the technology, cloud-based technology that we were both applying. Tell us also a little bit about the benefits of your system, your technology, and can you let our viewers know what those are?
Certainly. I think a key aspect of what we've done is Singular is not just a tool, it's a platform, and there's many ways people can use it. Certainly end users can use the author environment to create their own graphics. And if they don't want to create it, we have a full marketplace where they can download packages for free that have the lower thirds, full screens, tickers, all the elements they could need to get up and running quickly. There are various control applications, simpler ones and more complex rundown lists to meet the needs of various live productions, but that's just from the user end. We've created a full API that allows Singular to be controlled remotely. Every single aspect of it, from creating shows to automating the playout of graphics. So if you have an automated data feed, you can drive a complete Singular experience and build your own front-end control system for sequencing and playout.
Andrew, I thank you for spending time with us, and congratulations to you and your team on a fantastic product. We're thrilled to be working with you and that you're part of the GV Tech Alliance, and we look forward to doing a lot more with you in the future. Thank you very much.
Likewise, Mike, thank you very much. Looking forward to it.
It's incredible to see how quickly industry partners have gotten on board with GV AMP. A key point about AMP is that it's an enabling technology that we believe will democratize professional broadcast technology. In other words, it's not only a solution for large networks or station groups. In fact, it's not even just for television. Grass Valley customer Detune, a production services provider, has chosen GV AMP to help other types of customers share in the simplicity and efficiency of cloud-based production. Here's Grass Valley's Claudia Souza, Head of Business Development for GV AMP, talking with Detune's Michael Tooney.
Thanks, Nikki. And hi, Michael. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Michael, can you introduce Detune's business to our viewers?
Detune, we've been involved in the event and broadcast industry for over 20 years now, and our company specializes in special events per se, or things that are unusual. We always say we inspire moments with imagination, because many of the things we've done have been things that people have never done before. So that's kind of our background is a really quick nutshell. So we've been embraced a decentralized workflow system for many years already, and it's something that we were really pushing to do in the future.
All right. So you already had a lot of experience doing remote distributed workflows. Can you tell our viewers a little bit about the challenges you were facing before using GV's AMP, and why you felt GV AMP could assist you in meeting those challenges in a more effective way?
The transport part of the equation of getting the signals between places was always around of some nature, but it's one of those things that we had to work and create that every single time in a different way. Every place we went to was always something different, a different software stack, a different way of connectivity, and so we needed a way to make it all consistent. Also, a lot of the software that was available and a lot of the hardware that was available was always intended to go in a central location in a PCR, MCR type configuration, which is fine, but if you need to move or if you need to scale, that's not adequate. And a lot of the software-based tools out there are not scalable, and they're more of a prosumer device, which they do well at what they do, and they're good Swiss Army knives, but you don't have that central backplane that you need to have on a broadcast system. Broadcast systems always have to be up, 5 nines of your reliability and what you can do with it. And you need to have that kind of consistency, and you need to have that kind of workflow that you can scale that, and you need the ability to do any signal from anywhere. And that's what our motto was.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about your experience with GV AMP and how it has assisted you in having a more decentralized workflow and assisted you in having people be able to contribute remotely from varying locations due to COVID.
In this era of COVID, it kind of expedited our needs to get decentralized. A lot of the needs that we had to make happen were pharmaceutical based, where the pharmaceutical companies who are working on the genetic and basically the genetics of the genomes and whatnot of the COVID virus, they needed ways to communicate around the world. So we ended up doing a couple shows that were based around the pharmaceutical industry and trying to get that information out to their masses. So one of the very first shows we needed to accomplish was the show was based out of China, Europe, and the United States. We had 44 presenters in about a dozen countries. Our crew was in 3 different continents themselves, and we had to go 24 hours around the clock to bring this presentation to life. And you couldn't do that in the world of like a vMix or any of those other programs, just because of the scaling of it, and which you have to be on a tier 1 internet system, which we are, and you needed to have that core system to be solid. So the AMP product, we took it out of beta and put it straight into that test, and we performed well. It was great because it gives us the building blocks we needed to build the show that size and be able to scale it, run 24/7, and have the redundancy that we needed to be on the air.
Fantastic. So now that you have quite a few productions under your belt, why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience with AMP? Are there things you particularly liked or disliked about AMP?
We like the fact that it is scalable and that it is something that we can build up a system, especially bespoke for each one of our clients, which is great. It doesn't nail us in a position of, we had the switcher set up for just this type of configuration for sport when we needed to do something that's more like an award show, or vice versa. So it allows us to have an infinite scalability on the front side. The only downside of it is that a lot of the other components aren't available yet, but they're en route, and that's it's like, well, we gotta go faster. So that's the only downside, but it's coming.
Absolutely. We always wish we could be 1 year ahead of where we are.
Such an interesting way to apply this new technology. As you've seen, Grass Valley is continuing to develop GV AMP, adding new solutions and bringing partners into the mix. What has become abundantly clear is that fear and uncertainty about the cloud is beginning to melt away, and folks tasked with mission-critical content creation and delivery are learning that the cloud is an enabler of secure and reliable workflows. I know you're going to have questions, so be sure to go to Grass Valley's website and check out the GV AMP page for more information. Okay, so we're back and Tim Shoulders has returned once again, and it's time to put a big bow on everything we've covered today, and it's quite a lot.
You're not kidding, Nikki. I feel like during this really challenging time, we've learned so much about ourselves and our customers. And it's really going to help us emerge from this time in an amazing place to capitalize on the things that we've discussed today. Fundamentally, we at Grass Valley exist to create connections between stories and people and deliver the technology that enables these stories to be told. Today, we have endeavored to show you how the agility and adaptability of Grass Valley solutions have helped our customers innovate during these very challenging times. We've helped media companies get content on air and keep audiences connected. A great example of this is the work we have done with the folks at DB Broadcast. The pandemic has served as a challenge that has removed old barriers to adopting new technologies and accelerated some workflows that were coming anyway. In particular, remote production has been vital in keeping content flowing and returning live sports to our TV screens. Remote workflows and innovations like the LDX100 are helping our customers navigate their way through travel restrictions and reduce staffing numbers at live venues. And as the market shifts more and more to remote production, we will continue to our charge to lead the way in developing more solutions for remote production, including fully connected IP workflows. It is fair to say that the media and entertainment industry has embraced the virtual world during this challenging time, and the roadmap to cloud adoption has been fast-tracked. We've demonstrated today how we continue to lead the transition to the cloud with the expanded capabilities of our GV AMP cloud ecosystem. I believe it's the future of media technology, and that future begins now. The AMP platform already empowers customers with the flexibility to spin up or spin down applications as needed. Our vision is to enable a complete end-to-end ecosystem from image capture all the way through to distribution in the cloud. I'm really excited about GV AMP and what it brings to the equation. We have a bold roadmap of innovation for GV AMP, designed to deliver the workflow efficiency that the industry needs. You can expect a steady rollout of new applications over the coming months, much like GV AMP Playout, introduced today with our launch customer Eurosport. Their CTO, Gordon Castle, confirms that GVAMP Playout delivers the business agility Discovery needs to succeed in a dynamic market, while giving them the reliability and resiliency that they expect from Grass Valley. We have worked extremely closely with the Eurosport team as part of their wider technology transformation initiative to build a single, streamlined, cloud-orchestrated playout system. I want to thank the professionals at Eurosport for such a close and productive collaboration with us to design this next-gen system. GVAMP is the enabling technology that opens up professional broadcast quality production for customers even beyond the world of television. The Tune is an excellent example of this, leveraging our solution to help clients pivot live events to the virtual world. All of this contributes to our GV Media Universe vision, which enables new business models, such as pay-as-you-go approaches that do not require upfront capital and that enable our customers to experiment with new revenue models at a significantly lower cost. We're lowering operating costs for customers, and we're unifying the user experience. We'll be bringing more and more partners on board through the Grass Valley Technology Alliance in the months ahead, as we build a community of technology suppliers, systems integrators, and managed service providers to provide you with the most flexible and efficient platform for media creation and delivery. Today, we set out to show you how we're delivering on the promise of providing an end-to-end ecosystem of reliable, technologically advanced solutions, and I hope we've done that successfully. We've also underlined our continued commitment to empowering our customers to create captivating experiences that connect people anywhere, on any device, through the magic of media. I want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time to join us for today's program. There's more to come, with other exciting live events and content being released through the rest of 2020. In the meantime, we at Grass Valley wish for happiness and health for you and your teams, and thank you to those who keep us informed and entertained through these challenging times.